Okay, well, welcome to the fourth of the series. We just added this on just for the heck of it. It's actually an add-on to the part we did. This is part 4 of the 3-part of how to deal with difficult employees. And when we went through the series, one of the things that I wanted to do is to preview the software that goes with all the themes and the principles that we've talked about. For those of you, just from a background perspective, I'm Joanne Corley. I'm the CEO and founder of the Human Sphere. We're a talent management consultancy. So we work with the entire life cycle of an employee in terms of helping companies with best hire, best fit, training and development, promotion, and succession planning. And when I was looking for other tools for my practice, for my clients, I happened to be introduced to the software, or to the company, and software Synergita. And I'm so grateful that I have, because it's just a great software that supports all the things I've been teaching for a number of years related to coaching and performance management anyway. So what our goal is today is to take the principles from the How to Deal with Difficult People and see from a technology and a software perspective how that software can support the execution of that thing. And so we're going to do a very fast recap of the first 3 sessions, and very fast overview, and then we're going to have Kavitha go into marrying the difference between the software and what goes on in that as well. Okay, so I'm sorry, please forgive me. All right, so we're gonna, let's see, Kavitha, if you would go to the next screen, and we'll go through just the overview, because most people have been on the chats enough to know all that, so we'll just pass over that. Okay, key themes. First, the first one, if you would. All right, the first thing that we talked about very quickly is we dealt with two things. The first consideration: you've got to decide whether someone's difficult, different, or unhealthy. And we actually did columns, and we suggested that you look in each of those columns, and if you're engaged with a person and you're not really sure yet how to deal with that person, you have to make that determination. We also talked about that sometimes difficult is really not difficult, it's just really different. And we talked about how to discern that. So next point.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes.
And with that, we provided a 5-step process to do that. So we said these are things that you need to go through to sort through, to flush out if that person really is difficult or if they're just different. And part of that we know was considering the cost to it. Is it something that's just a personal irritant to me, or is this really something substantial that I really need to address? The next one was understanding how human behavior is created, and that was, we got a lot of feedback on that portion of Series 2 about how perspectives are developed, how two people can have the exact same experience and interpret it completely different ways, and how that could also contribute to conflict, confrontation, and here's my phrase, turning something that's really different into something that's difficult. Sometimes we make difficult, and we referenced and talked about that as well. And then in understanding human behavior and perspective and interpretation, we talked about the role of emotional intelligence. And we suggested that emotional intelligence has a significant role in human performance and also to dealing with difficult employees. And from my own unscientific observation and discussion, I mentioned that most employee challenges, I believe, have to do with emotional intelligence, not necessarily skill deficits. Skill is easy to, in many respects, skills are easy to teach. Emotional intelligence, that's another story. We also talked then about, now, as we went into solutions, how one of the key solutions to managing difficult employees was working with coaching, and the role of coaching and what that plays into addressing behavior. Because one of our solutions, remember, was deal with it, address it at the first hint of when things first percolate. And we talked about the reasons why. We had a great discussion about the reasons why people don't address things straight away, why they might let things linger, etc. And then we added in, well, how does coaching and culture play into that. So culture is more what I call team management. And we talked about how culture is really peer pressure, constructive peer pressure, and how that can impact in a constructive way managing difficult behavior as well. And then we followed up with that because that was all part of part 3. The next one, we're looking for the next, okay, providing an employee management infrastructure, meaning that if you're looking at coaching and culture and performance management, the infrastructure, all the philosophies, practices, and processes in place to execute all the other things we've talked about. So one of the things, questions I ask is, have your managers been trained to coach? Are you creating a coaching culture? All those things are part of that infrastructure. With that infrastructure in place, then it practically, you can't help but begin to minimize the difficult employee behavior because the infrastructure helps to manage that in many different ways. And then next point is that with the management infrastructure, all the tools and resources to support the best practices. So we're talking about assessments, 360 feedback, because we also reference 360 feedback, software as a tool to help manage it all. We talked about employee or management training and development, and other kinds of tools. I call that your talent management toolkit. All of those things are in place to help not only to address the behavior, to coach the behavior. So you're either coaching someone up where their behavior is improving, or you can legitimately and legally coach someone out. So having the tools and resources can help do that as well, and that employee infrastructure. And all that ties back into our final point, and that is effective performance management. All the things we've talked about in dealing with the practice of dealing with difficult behavior, not labeling the employee, but just saying difficult behavior, can be minimized. I'm not even going to say the word eliminated because that's, we're humans. I mean, I have difficult behavior, sometimes. But we're talking about minimizing it where it's habitual and not a one-off. When you have a really solid infrastructure, you have good coaching, you have philosophies and practices, you set boundaries, you have strong leadership. Because for those of you who are in the first session, if you didn't see part 1, I really invite you to do that. We went through the list of why difficult employees exist in the first place, and we had a really great list of why that is. All the solutions that we've talked about subsequently are solutions that help to support the reasons why they exist in the first place. Leadership, management, coaching, goal setting, formal and informal feedback, and also to a software that can help you track and document. This is the legal part, where you can legitimately track and document all the things that you want to do. That's the employee infrastructure. And so the purpose of this demo is to show how a piece of software can actually help you execute those things much easier, because ultimately we get to the appraisal, which for those of you who are managers and you've given appraisals before, I'm putting my hand up, I have to, they're really a pain in the butt. Okay, let's just be honest. And so if we can have effective life cycle and continuous feedback performance management with coaching and all the other things we've talked about, training and all that, when it does get time for the formal appraisals, they will not be as painful. In fact, they will be constructive and useful and, dare I say, easier to execute. And that's what I think a lot of people would like to have. So with that in mind, then, I'm going to give it back to Kavitha, and she's going to start tying in and introducing the software, and we're going to be connecting dots between everything that we learned in the series and then how the software supports those principles, philosophies, and processes, but from a technical software standpoint. So, Kavitha, I'm just going to give it back over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Joanne. Thanks, everyone, for attending the webinar. So basically, Synergita is a continuous performance management software And we think whatever Joanne has been explaining about how to deal with difficult employees, so a lot of features in Synergita can help in turning difficult employees into like enthusiastic and engaged employees. So so Joanne, how do you want to do? Would you want to explain a bit and then let me show the demo? So
yeah, well, yeah, I'll go through this slide. By the way, I love, this was not my idea. This was, which I love, this was Kavitha's idea about turning difficult into delightful. Okay, I love that. One of the things that is in the software that you'll see as she demonstrates is the software is set up to be not only just for the manager but also for the employee. Now this is another part about that buzzword that we're hearing so much about called employee engagement. Imagine for a moment that you have a place where an employee can take ownership and responsibility for their own performance through their own documentation within a system. I know for a fact that when you're writing things down, when things are tracked and documented on a subconscious, conscious and subconscious level, it does have an impact on motivation, ownership, and accountability, and those are all components of employee engagement. And so that's another really cool benefit and feature of software, is it helps with those particular functionalities as well. So it's ownership. So part of that is engagement then, as a part of the employee life cycle, is development, career aspirations. So we can document and highlight and talk about, okay, what are your career aspirations? What other areas would you like to grow in within the context of your career and also in context of adding more value to the company? So that's also a component of engagement and a feature in the software as well. Giving the continuous feedback, we talked about how that continuous feedback, that's coaching. That's what that's all about, both formal and informal. And then the next one, and my feedback on performance in a more formal setting. One of the things I didn't mention, or I might have mentioned it in series in part 3, was doing a monthly one-on-one, a few minutes of an actual sit-down. Informal coaching, just in time, it's right there, you're giving feedback as it's happening. And what I call more direct coaching is a one-on-one, maybe once a month or every 6 weeks, where there's a little bit more private formal discussion going on, and all that leads into the more formal coaching, which ties into the appraisal. So here's the thing, the employee is never blindsided. They always know where they stand, and that's super important in terms of rapport, performance management, and also minimizing any kind of difficult behavior. Then we also included in that, in terms of employee engagement and coaching, is people having an individual development plan. And that also can be incorporated in as part of the software, as well as one of my favorite features in the software is something called the 9-box. Many of you may have heard of the 9-box. It is a way of taking data and seeing, okay, I'm going to get macro picture of my employees. Where are they at in their performance as compared to other employees? This is super important. You cannot manage what you do not see. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. And so effective talent management, and I say holistic talent management, is being able to see, it's kind of like in sports, which, I love sports. You got to know your bench. You got to know specifically where the skill sets are. You've got to know, where they are, where you can put someone who maybe is not, you need to maybe coach out of the company or coach out into a different department. Honestly, data helps with that, and I know there's an inhuman element to that. It may seem that way, but really data is super important in terms of seeing the picture, and that's one of the huge benefits of software as well. Okay, so with that framework then, I'm going to have Kavitha go ahead and move into showing some components of the software.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Yeah, so let me just go into the software side. So basically, I'm going to start with letting you know how Synergita can be used as a centralized repository to store employee information as well. So basically, though it is it has a continuous HR performance management system, It also has a very powerful employee repository maintenance as well, which includes things about employee. You can maintain employees' skills, career aspirations, and so managers should be able to work on. So basically what we do is we have a lot of information about employees that can be stored, which include the basic details of an employee, like their department, location, designation. So basically, as I mentioned, it can serve as a very good employee repository where all information about the employees can be captured. This starts from the basic information about an employee, which includes the department, the location, designation. So these information can be captured. You can also have the manager details of an employee as part of a reporting structure section. Not only direct manager, but if you also have a matrix organization structure where there are multiple managers based on the project that an employee is working on. So all of those details can also be stored here. We also have a lot of other information like the personal details of an employee, the travel details, education, experience. So multiple details of an employee can be maintained. And one very interesting thing is the skill sets. So basically a manager would be able to better make a decision if they know the skills of their employees well. And here you can maintain the skills of the employees. That would include like your basic if a communication skill, or it can be a leadership skill, or a technical skill like a design or an engineering skill. So any skills can be maintained, and this would be helpful for a manager to assign work based on the particular skill of an employee as well. So that would be available. And then we also have documents where you can maintain soft copy of various relevant documents for an employee, which can be resume of an employee or scanned copy of educational certificates. So all information at one place. I mean, it can all reside at one place.
Okay, let me interrupt real quickly, Kavitha. Two things that I think are noteworthy. The ability to attach documents. I've had a couple clients ask, hey, when I get letters and feedback from clients, I don't know where to put that. And so this software allows the opportunity for clients, thank you notes, testimonials, great job, and attaboys from clients or internal, external clients. Those can be attached in the document section, which I think is great. And then one other component that's important is these different fields can be customized. So as an example, talking with a potential client right now, they have really important EEOC goals, like diversity hiring goals, right? And so they want to be able to run reports based on race. And so I was able to go through and add a screen for them under personal, where they could segment out their racial component of their company so that they can actually run reports. And what I discovered as a user was how easy it was to add in customized fields. I just thought, my gosh, this is like great, sure we can do that, So I just wanted to say there's customizable fields, and those are two areas that are useful when you're talking about an employee profile.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Joanne.
Sure.
We also have some career aspiration of an employee. So basically, a manager, every employee has a career dream or goal that they would like to achieve, and all that information can be maintained here, and also what are the skills that are required to get into that particular career level. So that can also be maintained, and this will help the manager to actually create an individual development plan and help them to grow to that particular career aspiration of the employee. So
yeah, I love the part about compensation expectations. This is really interesting in terms of really holding everyone accountable for outcomes. You know how you talk with the manager, hey, if I do this, would I get a raise? Well, now you can all track that and be held accountable to the expectation. So talking about engagement and motivation, that's awesome.
Okay. Finally, we also have something where a training that is attended by the employees the training log can also be maintained here. So, whatever training that the employee attends can also be stored in the system. So
Right.
that would be on the yeah.
Now, one more thing, and then I promise I won't interrupt you anymore. There also, too, is the ability to attach a learning management system to this system. We're working on that. So you can combine your LMS, learning management system, with the software as well. So there's one point of entry, and all the things that they're learning and the courses that they're taking in the LMS could then be integrated into this piece as well. That's super important for people to know. So thanks. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. No, it's Joanne. That is very helpful. You're coming and talking about some of the interesting features that we have. So, yeah, so that would be on the career aspirations. And then moving next to interesting features. So let me just quickly show that in my presentation as well. That's a continuous feedback. So basically, if you see, oftentimes when managers don't give feedback on a continuous basis to an employee, they become disengaged. So employees expect that managers need to appreciate or give them guidance for doing their work better. So continuous feedback comes into play. It's a very, very simple to use feature. And managers can give feedback at any time. They don't need to wait for a formal performance review to happen. They can give the feedback at any time, immediately after the performance of the employee, and feedback thus given is very, very effective. So because if you see a lot of complaints on the recency effect, where during an annual performance review, a lot of employees say that managers only consider the last few months of his performance.
Yes.
They don't, yeah. All of this can be avoided by using our continuous feedback feature, which is very simple to use, as I mentioned, because even a manager need not even log into the system. They can actually send an email from their email client and automatically it will come to the system. So it's as simple as that. So we are just going into the continuous feedback screen here.
Okay, so I don't want it to overstate this enough. The Outlook plugin, and aren't you guys also working on a Gmail plugin as well?
Yes, Joe.
Yes, woohoo, and Gmail.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any mail client. So we want to support all mail clients actually. So yeah. Okay. So basically this is the continuous feedback screen. So as I mentioned, like a manager can actually go and even give an award here. So they can, if they have Employee of the Month award or a Role Star award that they have within their organization. So this would be an effective place for them to go and give those awards as well. And there can be an different categories of comments can be given. So it can be an appreciation or it can be a area of improvement. So different categories can also be given. And basically we can also set the visibility rights. For instance, if it is an award, then it can be published as part of a dashboard or as part of an announcement area where they can say that this person has been awarded this award. But if it is a area of improvement or a constructive feedback that a manager provides to the employee, so it can be kept very very private, between the manager and the employee alone. So that type of visibility restrictions can be set for each category. So it's a very powerful feature as well as a simple to use feature. And this feedback can also be referred to the manager when they do a annual appraisal. So it's very easy for the manager to come and quickly search for a particular category of feedback that he had given his employee, and easy to rate him on the overall performance for a year. So this would be the continuous feedback feature.
And so there's appreciation. That's even broken down into categories. It's appreciation, awards, others, little icons I see for different representations. So it gives several options on how to interact and to document.
Right. Yeah. So, and the next feature, if you see, is the. Would you want to add anything else, Joanne?
Oh no, that's good.
Okay. Okay.
Although, are you going to go to My Performance? Are you going to go up there?
Yeah, we are going to show a performance review form, the annual review form. So,
okay, very good.
Yeah. So that would be, basically when you see annual performance reviews, or some organizations do it a midterm review as well. So all these can.
Okay, so now you are seeing the provide feedback screen. So the provide feedback screen shows the feedback form for the manager and the employee to fill the feedback. So basically the feedback form comprises of the competencies and the goals or KPIs. So the HR would be able to set the relevant competencies for different designations, and the manager or the employee would be able to set the goals and KPIs for the review period.
Right. And there's competencies, there's a competency library built in, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So the HR would be able to maintain an organization level competency library, and the manager would be able to pick the relevant competency for the team members and customize the feedback form specific to the employee requirements or the project related requirements. So based on this is how the manager would be able to build the feedback form or the required set of competencies and the goals the employee needs to achieve for the coming year, and all these things are configured in the system upfront. So during the beginning of the year, the employee would be communicated about the set of competencies required for doing the job and also the goals and KRAs. And during the annual appraisal cycle, the manager and the employee would go and fill this feedback form. So here you can see for each competency you can give the qualitative feedback. And the manager can also give a rating. The rating scale is configurable, so the customers can configure the rating scale according to their requirements.
It's all customized, okay.
And the manager would be able to check the feedback for the employee from peers, supervisor, and other reviewers. And the manager can also go and refer the feedback or the final ratings for the employee from the previous year appraisal cycles. And the manager can also refer the continuous feedback, like how much of awards the employee has got in the last 1 year or so, or in the review period, and whatever feedback the employee has got from different team members, peers, supervisors, etc. So the manager is actually presented all the information to rate the employee without any biasness, and the manager would be able to give the right rating to the team members. So all the information is readily available for reference, and the manager can also go and upload some documents which would justify the comments given. So they can just go and attach some documents. It can be a audit report or some customer email.
Excellent.
Right. This is the this is the core of the annual appraisal process, and the organizations would be able to go and give the recommendation, which includes the final rating for the employee and whether the employee is eligible for a promotion and all of that. So that's about the appraisal process in the system as such, which is completely configurable and easy for the HR to start the process, administer the process, and complete the process on time.
Excellent.
Okay. So next I would move on to the individual development plans.
And then I know you'll get to this when we talk about reporting, but I just want to sort of cue it up. There is a report that you can do that shows a perception gap between how the employee rated themselves and then how the manager rates them, and then that actually helps to facilitate some discussion and some other kinds of things. But there is an actual report that reflects that.
Yeah, that's right. The perception gap analysis report gives the difference in ratings between the employee, like what the employee rates for himself or herself and what others would rate for that person.
And then while you're doing this also too, there's another component of the software which I think is interesting is there is 360 feedback available during a performance cycle between team members. So or stakeholders, so there's ways you can have an employee receive feedback beyond just the manager or the supervisor. So that's another really good feature as well, I think. It's almost like Team 360.
Development plans.
This is like the dashboard. What I like about I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what I like about it is you show what part of the cycle the appraisal is in. Was it initiated? Of all the people who are responsible for contributing to it, where is it in the cycle? So it's like a dashboard of where everybody is at on their. So you don't have to create a spreadsheet. It's all right there for you in terms of where everybody's at. Correct?
Yeah, that's right. This gives this is the dashboard for the manager to basically manage the appraisal process for the team. So here they'll be able to go and see the cycle name which is currently in progress and the status of the appraisal process for each team member. I'll quickly go into the individual development plans. So the appraisal. So initially we saw the continuous feedback where the manager can go and give feedback to the employee throughout the year. Whenever there is a need for giving feedback. And second, we talked about the appraisal process which is initiated by the HR once in a year or twice in a year and get input for the employees from basically from 360-degree coverage from peers, co-managers and managers and even from the self. And now you are seeing the individual development plans. So when the manager feels like a review plan or a development plan is required for the team member, so he or she will be able to go and create a plan here and put a review frequency, maybe a weekly or a monthly review is necessary in this case. And I'll be able to go and create the line items where I want to monitor the employee. So these are the different line items in the development plan. And once I save the plan and start it, then the employee and the manager would be able to go and give feedback in the system for each of this line item. So this would be a good indicator or a measurement to find out how the team member is actually progressing on the identified areas of improvement or like where the organization or the manager would want the team member to show improvement. So finally, you will be able to get a report around telling across the organization how many people are undergoing the development plans and what is the current status and how many of them have shown improvements. So this would be a very key input to the HR and the management team for making the right decisions.
Prabhakar, let me also interrupt here real quick. This is also where we were talking about in managing difficult employees, how one of the principles of management is tight accountability equals higher performance. So when you're tracking things in this way, and it's not and both the manager and the employee are tracking them, there's a higher accountability to having behavior change. It's not like you have one discussion and then all of a sudden, like 3 months later, you just happen to have another discussion and nothing's changed. This tool gives the opportunity to keep things in front of people so that if there's any hope of any change, at least this is a tool that can help facilitate that.
Right. Next, I would log in as a HR manager and show you some of the interesting reports, including the 9-box report.
Also, too, Prabhakar, you guys can also create reporting. You can do customized reporting, too, as well, right? You have reporting widgets, but you also can do customized reporting for companies?
We can definitely. So we have like 20 plus reports at this point of time, and we would be able to develop custom reports for meeting the individual customer requirements.
Okay, excellent, yes.
Okay, so this is the 9-box report which Joanne talked initially. So this report would basically place the employees into 9 different boxes based on the scores the employee obtained with respect to goals or KRAs and the competencies. So all the HR needs to do is to go and select the appraisal cycle. So typically this process is carried over right after the completion of the annual appraisal cycle. So I just go and select the feedback cycles I want to include in my analysis. Okay, so this is the 9-box quadrant. I'll select a few more cycles where we have some good amount of data. Okay, so basically here you can see the 9-box quadrant is drawn with respect to the scores the employee has obtained in the competencies and goals. And the people who do well in both competencies and goals would be placed in the star bucket, and the people who are good in competency but not so good in achieving the goals would be placed in the unrealized bucket. So this report as such is completely configurable, so the HR would be able to fine tune the range of scores for each of this bucket according to the organization requirements.
Right. Now I'm going to stop right here because one of the things that we don't have time to go in today, but I want to make sure that folks know about is there is, besides the competency component of employee management, there's the goal setting. And what this 9-box does is it's an interesting way of looking at performance, 2 different ways of looking at performance, and then those are combined to place people where they're at. But it's a great grid to say, okay, if I have someone in trouble or if I have a derailing employee, what's happening? Does that person need more customized coaching? So this is a way of this is talent management. This is talent management by the numbers, really. So that you can, hopefully, you have a great employee that may need better coaching, or maybe something's going on with their manager. And some of this data can really show possibilities of where there might be some interventions that may not have been discovered had this data not been present.
Right. And you can quickly drill down and find out the set of employees who are placed in each of this bucket.
So now you're going to look you can see the names and where they were, employees, what employees are in what boxes, right?
Exactly.
Yes, that's very good.
So these are the other reports available, which covers almost all the modules available in the products.
Okay, so those are ones that are just built into the product right there. I mean, there's just a breathtaking amount of reports. Reviewer feedback, employee feedback status, an employee education report, that's fascinating. Aspiration report in terms of training. You know, if an HR director is wanting to, or anybody who's a decision maker is wanting to plan for a certain kind of training to be brought to an organization, you could match it against career aspirations. Boy, that's awesome. I mean, there's so much information here for really effective decision making and the best use of your employee talent management dollars. Employee training report, that's another one. That's excellent. Okay, Eric said, can the labels of the line items change to match the company's set of labels? Use terms already understood by employee. That's a good question. Papagar, so the question is, can the labels of the line items change to match the company's lingo, so to speak? Right, Eric?
Yes, it is possible. So for every report is actually completely customizable according to organization requirement. So I'm just showing how you can go and change the name of the label for each of this bucket. So
okay.
you're able to go and change this, and you can also go and define the range of score for each of this bucket. Yes,
okay.
it is possible.
It is possible. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, because the lingo thing, I love that. That's a great question, Eric, because the labeling, matching the lingo of the culture of the company is really useful and important. Okay, very good. Yeah. All right. All right. This is like super, for those of you on the call, you can tell this is a very sophisticated piece of software, and yet it can be very simply used. Our goal today was to connect all the things we've been learning about dealing with difficult employee and how the employee infrastructure and how the functions of this specific software can help to support things like coaching and tracking and employee engagement and reporting and ultimately appraisals and assessments. So I know we didn't want to keep people on the call too long, so we wanted to give just a very brief overview. Prabhakar, is there anything else that you want to share specifically, or is this good enough for people to kind of wet their whistle, and then if they want a more in-depth demo, we can set that up? Is that where we're going with this?
Yes, Joanne, in the interest of time, we thought of just giving an overview about the product.
Yeah.
So if there are any specific questions from the attendees, we can try to answer those questions.
Yeah, we can stay on. We don't want, if you guys need to hop off, that's fine. Here's the thing. We haven't talked about the affordability of this yet, but you will be blown away at how affordable this is. I mean, for what it does and how it can meet the needs of an organization and the cost, you think, okay, like this is really truly a no-brainer. So I'm going to hop off the call for just a little bit. Prabhakar is still on. If there's anything else, okay, let's see, Kenneth. It's possible to get the PowerPoints that were used in this series. Oh, absolutely. Kenneth, there's a resource on my website. The whole page has everything about the webinar. So just go to, I'm going to put it right in here. And it has the links to each of the sessions and the PowerPoints and PowerPoint slides and all of the complimentary information that was referenced in each of the sessions. It's all right there, right on the resource page. Okay, so go to, that's my website. Go to thehumansphere.com, and you'll see right on the front page there is the webinar series, Difficult People. Click on that link, it'll take you right to the resource page. Okay, Kenneth? Okay, any other questions real quick? Okay, any other questions? Are we all good? Are we all good for now? Does anybody want to schedule a more in-depth one, or you guys can email us if you want to. That's right on 2:30, so I don't want to keep everybody too much longer. Any other comments or questions? Is everybody good with what they, at least a good overview? Can I see some light at the tunnel? Does anybody want to make a comment, or is everybody good with what they've seen so far? You guys can type in your square. Do you want to unmute, Papagar? If you want to unmute people, that's totally fine too.
Sure, I'll unmute that.
Yeah. You bet, Kenneth. Okay, anybody else? Is everybody good? We've unmuted, so if there are any other questions or comments? I know it's a very fast...
Thanks, it's very helpful to see it.
Oh, it was? Okay, yeah, because wanted to hear from your perspective as from the viewer how that was. Was it a satisfying, enough of a satisfying overview?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, very good. That's very helpful. And connecting the dots between the seminar, specifically the series, and then how the software can support that. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to. We're available. All the team from Synergita is absolutely fantastic, and I'm here and I'm available for you. Also, too, if you're in need of teaching your managers how to coach, wanting to implement a coaching culture, all those things we can do for you as well. Okay, so stay in touch, and however we can meet your need, let us know. Okay, anything else? Is everybody all good? Everybody all good? Okay, you guys, thanks for being on the call. Thank you, Kenneth, for that comment. And we will probably schedule another demo, because I know there was we had 30 people registered, and we had maybe 11 on the call. So we probably will do another demo. So here's what I want to say. If you have other stakeholders or decision makers who might be interested in seeing how the functionality of performance management software, particularly as a learning tool, look for the emails, because we're scheduling another one probably in November, so you can have more of your colleagues on the call and more decision makers on the call as well. Okay? So on that note, I'm going to sign off. And Papa, thanks so much for everything, and for all of you guys who've attended the series. And I'm sure we'll be in touch and talk again soon. Okay? All right. Bye for now.